Hi everyone, welcome to Mindful Breath. Today we're going to talk about the conditioned mind. So just a short introduction in case you don't know us. Mindful Breath is an organization that runs mindfulness courses and other upcoming courses to help you with happiness and well-being. So one of the courses we run is mindfulness-based strategic awareness training. In short, it's called MBSAT. So before we delve into what is a conditioned mind, I would like you to have a look at this. Now, in this picture, do you see an image of a young woman or do you see a man playing jazz? How about this? What are you seeing? Are you seeing again an image of a young woman or are you looking at an image of an old woman? Right? So you might have done this perception illusion test before. Yeah. So let's take a look at this one instead. How about this? Do you recognize this man in the picture? Do you recognize the hand signal he's doing? So for some of us who understand that hand signal, it seems inappropriate, right? But really, it depends on where you're looking at him from, whether the photographer is standing in front of him or at the side. So why do we have different perceptions? So here's the answer. We have different perceptions because our minds are conditioned. So what is mind conditioning? What is a conditioned mind? So a conditioned mind is a mind, just imagine a box and then you put your mind in it. And within this box, there are things like social conditioning, private conditioning, and evolutionary conditioning. So social conditioning comes with the culture you're brought up with, the race, the history of your country, down to the government, how they're run, and of course the customs and the traditions. Yeah. And then private conditioning would be, the family you're brought up in, what kind of family it is, what kind of social class, and of course, yeah, the choices you make. Having seen how your family members behave, what they are like, and in the society, the choices you have within that box, the choices that you make. Then, of course, all of us across the globe, regardless of social or private conditioning, have something called evolutionary conditioning. So these are genes passed down by our ancestors, and we'll take a closer look at it. So there are different types of conditioned mind, and we can broadly say that one of the conditioned mind is a wandering mind. So we talked about the wandering mind in our previous video. So the characteristic of a wandering mind are random thoughts supported by neutral feelings. And usually when a spaced out wandering mind wakes up right from that daydream, it feels unhappy, discontented. Yeah. So the discontentment comes from the fact that the mind has been lost for a while. It isn't resting anywhere and it's quite confused. So the other conditioned mind is a habitual mind. So the characteristics of a habitual mind are wanting or not wanting thoughts, supported by pleasant or unpleasant feelings. So you can also say a wandering mind is a confused mind. It's confused because that mind has got no direction, doesn't know where to go, doesn't know where to rest, and doesn't know what's going on with the thoughts. And a habitual mind is a self-absorbed mind, meaning, for example, if I want a new phone, I will be torn between getting an Apple iPhone or a Google Pixel. Yeah, so I'll be reading reviews on which model to get. While I'm busy doing that, a coworker may come to speak with me and ask me about work stuff, and we'll discuss and I'll give my answers. And then inevitably, I may find myself asking, "Hey, would you choose an Apple iPhone or would you go for a Google Pixel phone?" Right? So my mind is kind of absorbed in it. So you can say that for both minds, they are not present to the present moment, which is reality. So things, for example, things are not really happening now, but in our minds, we are thinking things that are happening elsewhere, the past, the future, whether to get a phone or not. So let's take a deeper look at the mind of a habitual, the thoughts of a habitual mind. What does a habitual mind want? So it can be simple things as, right, I want to get an iPhone or Google Pixel, as I was sharing earlier. But deeper down, if we drill it in, what we really want, right, are these things: acknowledgement, appreciation, approval. For example, if most of my friends are using iPhone and it meets my budget, right, I want to be in the crowd. This is just a very simple example. Of course, it doesn't work like way. I'm just generalizing it. And most of all, we want safety. We want to feel safe. We want to survive. We want to live a long life. We want to have good reputation, right? Good reputation is tied to acknowledgement, appreciation for our work, for our intelligence, maybe approval from our friends, and gains. We want to have gains, right? The more we gain, it also points to a longer life. So, what kind of thoughts, what kind of not wanting thoughts does a habitual mind have? Very simple. It's just the opposite of what it wants. It does not want to be unacknowledged, unappreciated, to be disapproved, not to belong. When you don't belong, you lack approval, that means there is a chance you could be in danger. You feel a sense of loss. It doesn't want losses. So if we drill deeper, we can see that very rarely do we have not wanting mind, because every time we experience the lack of appreciation or danger, immediately our mind pivots towards one thing. So you can say that most of the time, the mind is kind of self-absorbed in wanting something. Now, so this is very common. We always make decisions, and it's also known as trade-offs, especially for governments these days, right? With the COVID-19 pandemic, there are many decisions to make, but these trade-offs really boils down to survival, such as lifespan and our economy. The economy needs to be working for us to survive. So it's safety and gains versus danger and loss. So the decision is usually taken based on giving us a chance to live longer and to be safe and to have more things. So if we draw it down like that, you can also see, right, safety versus danger. What does that sound like to you? What kind of conditioning is that? That sounds very much like evolutionary conditioning. So many of our decisions are truly really driven by fear, right? Not like our ancestors, where they really feel an acute fear as hunter-gatherers out in the jungle, facing many, many kinds of dangers, from snakes to wolves to leopards and tigers. But fear is not a bad thing. For survival instinct, it is very necessary. Because of fear, our ancestors could pass down their genes for us to survive. However, our intelligence has kind of distorted fear. Instead of seeing a real tiger in the jungle, the tiger has become our bosses, supervisors, managers, your competitive colleague, to your spouse. So when we perceive things in the future, which we don't really know, we can't really guess, it can create fear. And this fear translates into what we call anxiety attacks, stress, or panic attacks. And they are really different from the kind of fear experienced by our ancestors, in the sense that, just like a deer that sees a tiger, it has that fear. And when it manages to run away from the tiger, the deer will shake off its fear physically and then get on with the life. But for us, no, that fear can exist in our minds for a long time, day after day after day, and it becomes chronic, and it can even cause us illnesses. So when we talk about evolutionary conditioning, we have to look at our brain. This is the triune brain theory. So the triune brain theory suggests that within our brain is the lizard brain. There is a lizard brain in the brainstem and the cerebellum. And this lizard brain, or the reptilian brain, is in charge of our instinctual movement behavior. Just like when we sense danger, we move away. So it's in charge of movements, instinctual movements. It's also in charge of fight, flight, freeze response. Also, in charge of our hunger, our feeding, we need to feed to keep ourselves alive. Then there's the mammalian brain. So after the dinosaurs, there were mammals, such as the whales, the dolphins, the monkeys. They begin to care for their young. So that's the development of emotions, memories, and habits. And we base a lot of our decisions from the emotions we feel. And the amygdala within the limbic system is in charge of emotions in our brain. And in research, it's shown that the amygdala reduces when you practice mindfulness. And when you practice mindfulness and reduce the amygdala, it processes and regulates the emotions so that the higher brain function, the human brain, can do its work. What kind of work does it do? Well, the human brain is capable of abstract thoughts, imagination, and most importantly, consciousness, which is mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware, being conscious. Why do we want to be conscious? Because only when we are conscious, when we know what's going on moment to moment, can we make real good, reasonable, rational decisions. So for an untrained mind, decisions are made between the wandering mind and the habitual mind. So a wandering mind is, just going round and round and round in circles. Habitual mind, as I've shared earlier, the conditioned mind is placed in a box and it sees what it sees in the box. It's unable to broaden its perception. So the habitual mind is only able to experience what's in the box and therefore know the pleasant feelings or the happiness within that box. And even if it experiences unhappy feelings, it doesn't know how to broaden, get out of the box and to get out. So now, if we make our daily choices based on this habitual conditioned minds, is there free will? Right? So in mindfulness, right, it's proposed that um, when there is awareness, there is free will. When there is no awareness, such as the wandering mind, not a habitual mind, we are not really making choices with our free will. We are kind of imprisoned by our conditioned mind. What does this mean? So, for example, I will use myself as an example. One of my habitual mind is actually impatience, and I'm not proud of it. But certain situations will arise in my life that will bring out my impatience. For example, right? I don't like to waste time on making simple decisions. I'm like snap it and go. But to other people, these small decisions are very important. They could get together, they could get more people together, and they could talk about it for hours, not even coming up with a solution. And that really, gets me. Right? It really irritates and annoys me. And because I'm aware, I know that. And every time I fail, I tell myself, no, I must do it again. I must, not allow myself to be drawn by my impatience. Why do I not want that? First of all, I experience um, bodily sensations that do not feel good when I am impatient. Secondly, when I show my attitude, my impatient attitude to the others, what am I essentially saying to them? I do not appreciate them. I do not approve of the way they are making the decision. Right? Remember earlier I was saying that we are always avoiding unhappiness, unpleasantness. So to them, they can feel my vibe, right? They know how I see them. So they definitely feel unappreciated, unacknowledged. Then what would they do? They will either leave me out of the group or show me their displeasure. So from wanting approval from them, because to show them I'm intelligent enough to make quick, good decisions, right? I might get pulled down to the mind that experience unpleasantness because of my bad attitude to begin with, right? So if I truly have free will from my impatience, I would not react that way every time that situation comes up. I could replace it with patience. Yeah. So because mindfulness is about mind transformation, to make decisions that you feel good about, that doesn't harm yourself and also brings out a good result for those outside so that they won't harm you. So I'm not going to try to put fear into your mind. No, nobody wants to harm you, right? Most people don't want to harm you. But sometimes they inevitably do because we're all trapped in this conditioned mind. Hey, if I behave this way, they react that way. We're pretty, irrational, predictably irrational. So this psychology is called Dan Ariely. He wrote a book about it. You may want to grab the book and have a read. It is really interesting, right? So also, we have to find a connection, between wandering mind and habitual mind to help us gain free will. How do we do that? So there's a connection between the wandering mind and the habitual mind, and those are our memories. So the wandering mind is made up of many random thoughts that are fragmented, that has no proper beginning or end. But nevertheless, they contain memories of our experiences. And these memories are come from choices we've made in the past. If you spend time meditating, looking at the thoughts you have, you may find yourself commenting on past thoughts and even some past memories from the past which you think you have forgotten a long time ago. They may creep up and it may cause you feelings of guilt because you may realize you did not make a good choice then. And you may be surprised they come up so many years later. So mindfulness is to make clear, give light to all of these memories and to change them so that it doesn't creep up again later. So for the habitual mind, it's the same thing, right? Memory plays a big part in how we choose things. For example, on a very hot day, if two person walk down the street, one sees an ice cream shop and another one sees a shop selling ice cold tea, right? They may not make the same decision to go for the ice cream. One may go for the ice cream, another one may go for the iced tea. And this could connect back to memories when they were young, right? Having enjoying an ice cream with a good friend on a really hot day, or the other person not being able to have an ice cream because he or she suffers from asthma and is advised to keep off it. So they may choose something else instead, right? So in meditation, we can see the wandering mind and the habitual mind. And when we're out there communicating with others, we can definitely see the habitual mind. So to gain free will, we must know the kind of memories we have in our conditioned mind. Why? Because memory is supported by something very important, and that is attention, right? So attention brings us to certain events that we pay attention to, and then we make a choice from there, and it creates memory. So, for example, back to my example of my impatience as my habitual mind, right? When a group of people come together and they take a long time to make one simple decision, my attention was that they are wasting time, they are wasting my energy. Imagine if my attention is placed elsewhere, such as, okay, now that they are taking time to discuss, I have the time to rest. I'm not in a rush. And if I am in a rush to go elsewhere, I can tell them so. I need not get upset with them, right? So these memories, the way I make my choices, creates memories. So you can say our mind works this way all the time. Our memories pushes us or the mind to pay attention to certain things. When it pays attention to a certain situation or certain trait of a person, it starts to perceive and make a decision. And upon making a decision, it decides to act based on our attitudes, our behavior, the way we say things, the content of our speech. That's acting. And then when we say it out, it goes into our memory. If you meditate, just try this. If you're having a long conversation with a friend, and then immediately you sit down to meditate, you see your mind repeating those conversations, what you should have said, what you should not have said. And they come out in your memory. It's immediate. You can try this experiment yourself. So this is a circular thing. They don't work in a linear fashion. Memory doesn't come first, decision does not come first, right? It's a circular thing, and they work so fast, we tend to miss them. But when we are aware, when we are conscious, we bring light to our subconscious, our inner processes. And then we can choose, make choices, such as making choices on where to place our attention. So as I explained earlier, due to evolutionary conditioning, we tend to place attention on negative things. whether someone's going to take advantage of us, take advantage of us being too nice, being too giving, or we may place our attention on news, right? That's why so many people watch the news, because it's all negative news. Do you tune in to positive news? I mean, be honest, right? Right? Our evolutionary conditioning, right, kind of push our mind towards negativity due to the survival instinct. And we all know now we don't live in the jungle. We are no longer hunter-gatherers. We can learn to place our attention differently and increase the function of our human brain mind. So one of the ways to pay attention is the three good things exercise, which is taught in MBSAT. And this is a very simple exercise. So since memories play a big part in our lives, whether we are aware or not, paying attention to good things is very important. We should be deliberate about our attention. When we place attention on positive things in negative events, more positive things in positive events. I'm not saying to ignore the fact, for example, now that we are having um, the COVID-19 pandemic, we don't deny the fact that there is a pandemic going on. But we can still find positive things within it, such as those helping others who can't work because of self-isolation, to those enjoying time at home. But most of us, right, we may be complaining, oh, well, we can't travel, we have to spend so much time with our family, it sucks. Because we are neglecting that good things do exist in our lives. We just have to look out for it and pay attention to them. So the three good things is an exercise you can do every day. So have a journal, and every night before you sleep, reflect on your day. What do you do? What did others do for you? Right? Are there good things? And if you can't think of anything good and you think that you have made the wrong choice, that's great as well, because it allows you to re- it allows you to repair your mistakes, yeah, to repair those things which you may have regrets. By doing that, you are still creating good memories. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this session and that this explanation of the conditioned mind help you understand your mind even more. So my name is Macy and I'm from Mindful Breath. Do check us out on our website as well as our resources on our social media channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again.